MacArthur, with 3 decades of legal experience and numerous awards, including Lawyer of the Year, bringing legal advice to prime time with our community forum. It's the law firm of Kathy MacArthur, live on the Fox Files.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fox Files. Tonight's topic is wills and estates. The phone number to call is 741-5510, and we'll get to your phone calls in just one moment. But first, let's meet tonight's guest. Tonight, this evening, we are joined by attorney Kathy MacArthur. And Kathy, I know you'd like to introduce our very special guest for the evening.
I would, and in fact, we've got the older, more seasoned version of Boone Smith tonight that we had Boone Smith IV last week as our guest, and now his dad, Boone Smith III, is subbing in for his son tonight.
Glad to be here tonight, Kathy.
Has a much greater and wider experience in wills and estates. Isn't that true, Boone?
Well, let's hope so. Thanks, Kathy.
Okay. Well, Boone, why don't you tell us what is a will?
What is a will? Well, basically, a will is a document, executed by a person during his or her lifetime where you indicate where you want your property to pass at your death. Your will speaks at your death and has to be witnessed before 2 independent persons, neither of whom can be a beneficiary. And, we execute wills all the time.
Does everybody need a will? Do I need a will?
Everybody should have a will. It really does 2 things. It indicates where you want your property to go, and it does it in such a way to reduce cost. That's what a will is for.
Okay. Now, what is it that makes a will legal?
What makes a will legal? A will has to be executed by someone before 2 independent witnesses. It has to be executed voluntarily, and you also cannot be under any undue influence, and you have to be competent. Many times when you go into probate court, this has to be proven, and that's the reason you have a probate court, to make sure the will was properly done.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and take one of our phone calls. One of our viewers has a question about wills. So, Mike, why don't you tell us what your question is?
Yes, it was the same type of question. I had 3 children, and I got married. I had 3 children, and I had a will, and then I got married, and then I want to know if I can change some things in the will and get my wife to sign it. Would that be legal?
Sure, Mike, but first of all, you sign your own will. Nobody else signs your will but you, and so you can certainly go ahead and change your will to include your wife, which you probably should do. If you don't change your will, then basically your wife would take a child's share, if you had executed a will before you married without the will being in contemplation of marriage. But since you've married after you executed a will, you probably should do a new will, to provide for your wife.
Okay, and thank you, Mike, for calling, and I certainly hope we were able to answer your question. Now, Mr. Smith, can a will provide a guardian for your children?
Sure.
For your grandchildren?
If you have minor children, you should provide a testamentary guardian, and the testamentary guardian would have custody of your minor children until they reach age 18 under Georgia law. I would do that in every case with a person with minor children.
Okay, let's go ahead and take another call. Up next is James. Hi, James.
Yes, I would like to know when a person passes away and an administrator is named for the person that passed away, how an administrator would decide to defer any donations that come into the family toward another organization like a hospice versus waiting until the finalizing of the will.
Well, as I understand your question, you indicate that we have an administrator, which means the person died without a will. When you die with a will, you have an executor named in the will to carry out your affairs. When you die without a will, the administrator is named by the court. As I understand your question, the administrator has to take care of debts, funeral expenses, and expenses of administration.
We're going to have to wrap up that question for just a second, and I'll give you a chance to finish
My
it.
fault.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with the Fox Files.